I, 28 female, and my boyfriend, 28, have been seeing each other for only about 3 weeks, an admittedly short amount of time. Boyfriend has a bio child, Marco, toddler male, with an ex-girlfriend, and she has a son, Paul, preschooler male, from her previous relationship. The issue arises, however, with Paul and the mother's expectations involving this child. His dad is a deadbeat who lives out of town and has never been in Paul's life. Boyfriend spent about 3 years in Paul's life as a male adult figure while in a relationship with the baby mama. Since they've split, he only sees Paul if he happens to be with Marco. Last night, baby mama contacted my boyfriend and told him, "You're taking the boys tonight," which upset him. He said he struggles to care for 2 children on his own and can't afford it. Confused, I asked, "I thought only Marco was yours." He confirmed only Marco was his, but he feels responsible for Paul as he was involved in his life from a young age. We discussed Paul's father, and I expressed my distaste for fathers who don't step up for their own children. I said something along the lines of, "Why does his dad have no responsibility? He should be feeling this obligation, not you." Boyfriend then told his ex he would take Marco with absolutely no issue, but he said he'd no longer be held responsible for Paul. Ex said, "Cool, you're never seeing your son again," then threatened to call local childcare organizations and has been blasting my boyfriend on Facebook, calling him a deadbeat dad. I'm a childless woman, and I won't even begin to pretend to understand how complicated her situation must be. However, I'm childless because I choose to be, meaning I've never just been, "Oops, I guess I'm pregnant," and have always found it fairly easy not to get knocked up. So I have little sympathy for this next detail. She's pregnant with a 3rd child from a 3rd baby daddy and has no idea who it is, and fully expects my boyfriend to care for this new 3rd child, one she conceived after they broke up with another man. It's clear to me that this woman will expect my boyfriend to pay for and care for any child she has now or in the future because he's a good man. To her, it has nothing to do with who was there for Paul or Marco. It's who'll pay child support. Maybe I should have just practiced shutting my mouth. I feel like my comment was the final straw in his mind over Paul, like a final validation. I'm worried I should have been quiet, but I was genuinely just making light conversation. I never said, "You should do XYZ." I also really hate that because he wouldn't take both children, he wasn't permitted to see his child. Am I the idiot? Does everyone here suck? Should I have kept my comments to myself? Edit. My issue is I never want to give birth, issues with health, etc. But I do want to be a mom, so I'm willing to put up with the single dad drama to an extent. Not the idiot. This isn't standard single dad drama. This is another grown adult woman demanding money and time from your partner for 2 or 3 kids that aren't his. She's definitely been taking advantage of boyfriend being a wonderful father. On the other hand, the boyfriend needs to lawyer up, get a paternity test, and get formal custody set in place. But you gotta decide if this amount of drama is worth a relationship. As a stepmom, let me advise you that life will be a nightmare with an emotionally unstable and demanding bio mom in the mix. I adore my stepson, who I met when he was 3 and is now 45, and we're very close. But his mom? Good Lord. He's no contact with her now, but we had 35 years of shared living a nightmare with her. So please, 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 take lots of time before emotionally committing yourself to your current arrangement. Take it slow. It'll probably not get easier over time. Your boyfriend could emotionally provide for Paul since he's been in his life, but his financial obligation is to Marco. Cutting off the non-bio kid emotionally would be cruel, but he needs an order in place to outline his financial responsibility only to his own child. However, OP, are you 100% sure the new baby isn't your boyfriend's? You've not been together very long. Everyone's the idiot here. As a girlfriend of 3 weeks, it really wasn't your place to question how he chooses to structure his family. He's been a father figure to the little boy for 3 years, withdrawing financial support and no longer seeing the boy who looked up to him as a dad so abruptly was an idiot move on your boyfriend's part. If he wanted to step back, there were ways to do that gradually or less confusingly to the poor kid. Obviously, the mom is the worst. 3 kids by 3 baby daddies, and expecting one to support them all is crazy. She doesn't seem like a responsible woman. Oof, this is already a mess, and you're only 3 weeks into a relationship with him. My daughter met this girl 4 years ago at a marathon where they both did exceptionally well, and a friendship blossomed. They have a lot in common. They both like music, running, working out, art, TV shows, etc., and they're both at the same university, albeit doing different courses. My daughter visited me, us, wife and her brother, and she basically let out a lot of stuff about her friendship with this girl recently. She talked about how she feels like their friendship will never be close-knit like she wants. She spoke about how she feels her friend is way closer to her childhood friends, and how she feels jealous seeing pictures on social media of them on nights out partying. She feels like her friend is talking to her less and less, both in person and on social media, and not making time for her. She talks about how she's gone back through her old social media and feels jealous seeing the old photos of her friendship with her childhood friends. Finally, she said that the straw that broke the camel's back for her was that on her birthday 2 weeks ago, her friend didn't wish her a happy birthday. She said she tried to visit her friend at her accommodation, but there was no answer. She mentioned how she felt betrayed by how she made a big presentation for her friend's birthday earlier this year. She was really emotional throughout this telling. My wife and her mom obviously was trying to console her and telling her to keep working on it. I, however, had a different stance. I told her that she would never be on the same level as her friend's childhood friends. They've been friends since childhood, gone through school and all those trials together, and know each other inside and out. I told my daughter that she has to accept this when maintaining her friendship with this girl. I advised her to try to look back at her friendship with her friends over the years, work on consolidating connections with them, and that there's nothing wrong with being less emotionally invested in this friend. On top of all this, one other important detail, I didn't say this to her. Her friend is 20 and she's 25. I put that age difference into perspective. She was born in the 1990s, last millennia, while her friend was born in 2003. Their childhood and experiences are broadly similar, but that difference is difficult to ignore. My daughter didn't react well to my advice. She said that I was telling her to settle for less, and I'm putting her down. And she said that she feels a big connection with her friend, which I had no real answer to. We argued, and I told her to grow up, and she left. Now, she's acting incredibly childish. However, I feel empathetic for her, as the last few years have been difficult for her socially, and her social skills have really declined. On top of that, having met her friend personally, I know she's a really lovely, warm, friendly, and sweet girl, and I can see why my daughter feels close to her. Not the idiot. Your daughter isn't reading the room properly. She's acting like a kid with a one-sided crush. This other person doesn't owe her a close friendship or a spot amongst her Tier 1 friends. She's coming on pretty strong. The friend seems to be pulling back. She's 25 and needs more social awareness. Wait, so they became friends when your daughter was 21 and the other girl was 16? Your daughter got weirdly obsessed with the kid. No wonder this girl is uncomfortable. There are bigger issues here than the childhood friends thing. Wow, I hadn't done the math. This doesn't sit well now. I'm betting that now that the other woman is 21, she's realizing how off it is that a 21-year-old would try to become such close friends with a 16-year-old. Those are completely different points of development. As a teen, I'm sure she felt flattered and perhaps sophisticated, thinking this older, cooler woman thought she was a peer. If someone I was trying to distance myself from showed up at my door on their birthday, I'd probably never talk to them again. That said, it would be good for you to address the actual issues of the relationship. Becoming friends later in life does not exclude an incredibly close relationship. She needs and deserves to understand that this is not the issue at hand, but an unhealthy, one-sided, pushy dynamic at play. Good luck sorting this one out. I, 20 female, had to do a group presentation as part of my end-of-year assignment, and I think it mostly went great. The presentation was 15 minutes minimum, with a 15-question session afterward. However, there's one guy in my course, John 21, whom many people dislike. He's the epitome of a well-actually guy who likes to be the devil's advocate for things that shouldn't have a devil's advocate. He's embarrassed himself more than once by asking ridiculous and pointless questions to our professors that have no relevance, and he's very full of himself. I know this all may seem harsh, but this behavior has been consistent for the past 2 years. His smarminess has isolated him from many people in our course who don't want to deal with him. After our presentation, he said he had several questions and proceeded to ask some of the most irrelevant questions. For example, in the presentation, I mentioned that one of my inspirations for the project was a trend in 2020 where grown men, usually 30 to 40-year-olds, would duet teenage girls' TikToks, mocking them from how they like their coffee to their prom dresses. John asked, "Don't you think teens should get criticism for posting online?" Not only was this not relevant to the project, but you could sense the tension in the room. So many people rolled their eyes, and even his friend gave him a shut up nudge. After a few more questions directed at me, not the other 3 men in the group, I admittedly got annoyed and said, "Listen, mate, I'm not going to answer any more questions from you. You're clearly trying to grasp at straws here." The rest of the questions from our other peers were great and actually of substance, and overall the whole thing went well, other than that one hiccup. As we were leaving the hall, I heard John complaining to some of his friends, and then I saw him talking to our lecturer. I got an email from our professor asking me to join a Teams meeting where I was expected to apologize for embarrassing John, and something about how we were supposed to create a safe space for our fellow peers, and by being rude, I didn't do that. He said if we can sort it out before Thursday, tomorrow, by ourselves, then excellent. So I sent John a quick message saying I didn't mean to be short with him, but he was clearly asking pointless questions. He replied, "You didn't have to be a witch about it," and then blocked me. Am I the idiot? Edit. He doesn't get along with guys or gals, but I was the only girl in my group, and all his questions were directed at me. The theme of our project was, ironically, female rage and inequality. These were John's 3 questions. What's the relevance of the topic? Your investment in this project is silly. I don't understand why this means so much to you. Don't you think that the teens who post on TikTok deserve criticism? I thought that was a ridiculous thing for you to get in trouble for until I saw that he called you a witch, and I realized you're a woman. If a man had shut him down, there would be no further action from anyone. He needs a safe space. You were creating a safe space by preventing all the eyeballs in the classroom from being permanently stuck in the reverse position. You are not the idiot. Make sure you screenshot him calling you a witch. Write down the questions John was asking as exactly as possible. If you can, get help from others present. Ask them how they felt about John's questions. Take this to the Teams meeting. Say you responded to several of them. However, they had no direct relevance to the project. There were only 15 minutes for questions, and you felt that John was not creating a safe space for the others in the room by asking these questions. Read out your approach to him, and as reply, ask how much time John should have got for those questions and how you should have replied in answer to them. Ask how you could have created a safer space for the whole group. In addition to the other great suggestions defending your comment, wait until the end of the call and ask the professor if you may now receive an apology from him for calling you a witch when you reached out to resolve the issue personally. Then wait. Refrain from saying anything to follow up. Just hold eye contact. Oh, and please update. Please. I can't handle children for long periods. I don't hate them or anything. I just get stressed out being around them. My sister booked her wedding at an all-inclusive in the Dominican Republic that was family-friendly. A bunch of her guests will have kids, and other kids will be there. I said I would go but stay at a different adult-only resort nearby. This caused an issue because she got a better deal on her wedding the more guests she has staying at the same resort as her. She said I had to stay at her resort. I said no thanks. She got my parents involved, and they said I needed to suck it up for a week. Hard pass. I would have to spend the week in my room beside the ceremony. I can blow a few grand on Lego and have a better time than that. So I'm just not going. My sister and parents are upset that I choose my mental health over her wedding. They didn't say that, it's just how I feel about the situation. Not the idiot. A week at a family-friendly resort is my idea of a nightmare. I totally understand why that's not something you'd be up for. Your sister is the idiot because she expects you to do things her way because it's her saving money, not considering your situation. If she wasn't the idiot, then she would have been happy that you're coming to her wedding, regardless of what resort you stay in. You stood your ground, and that's honorable. Her greed ruined it. Don't let her gaslight you into thinking you're the idiot because you aren't. Cheers. Dude, seriously, at what point is this extreme aversion to children actually an issue for you? The fact that they exist is going to cause you to break down? They're not that bad. Hating kids doesn't make a person special, unique, or mature. It just makes them a boring, regular, everyday, selfish idiot. Choosing my mental health? Just stop it. Get over yourself. I agree. Really? Mental health? Does OP break down whenever they walk outside, go to a park or the mall, etc., and see a kid? They never go to an amusement park or the beach, or eat at a restaurant, or walk inside the grocery store, or board a plane. Wow. Go see a therapist. Being stressed out around children to the point where you have to choose a different resort is not normal. I, female 40, have been with my husband for 6 years, married for 2 years. He has sole custody of his daughter, teen. His daughter's gone by her first and middle initials, EJ, since she was a baby. Everyone calls her that. Her dad, other family members, teachers, friends, etc., etc. When my husband and I were dating, I asked what EJ stood for out of curiosity. He told me, and I thought her name was so pretty, so I started calling her that. She didn't like being called that, but I guess she got used to it after a while because she had let me. Well, last night, stepdaughter had some friends over, and I asked her to help me with something by addressing her by her name. Her friends gave questioning looks, and stepdaughter said, "Guys, that's me." A few laughed, saying, "Oh yeah," and kinda joked about forgetting her actual first name. Well, after her friends left, she got upset, ranting to her dad about how he doesn't even call her by her first name, so she doesn't understand why his wife, me, gets to. And now she doesn't even feel like her first name. She feels like an EJ. After her rant, she ran to her bedroom, and my husband got upset at me, saying I should just respect she prefers to be called EJ. I started saying how I just thought her actual name was so pretty. He said I'm honestly acting like an idiot, refusing to call her EJ. So, am I the idiot? You thought, then you imposed without asking. You are the idiot. Big time. There's nothing more personal than a spoken name. You completely disrespected EJ. Pretty is not a defendable reason. I'm so proud of EJ for finally speaking about what she's endured. She minimally deserves an apology. It's not your place to decide what someone else is called. What if your stepdaughter just started calling you Dogface because she felt like it suited you better than what you prefer to be called? People get to decide for themselves what they want to be called. If she was introduced to you as EJ and clearly indicated a preference for EJ, then EJ is what you should call her. Oh good, the main character's here. 10 out of 10, top-notch evil stepmother story. You arbitrarily started calling someone a name because you liked it, not because the person did. You should have asked her if she liked the name. The fact that your husband accused you of refusing to call her EJ suggests that you know she would rather be called EJ, but ignore it. Of course you're the idiot, and you need therapy for your shocking narcissism and lack of boundaries.